Hey everybody, it's Tox from CritsHappen.com. Thanks for watching and welcome back. Today, I'm actually at my desk doing a lot of editing work. I was asked to do an About Me or an About Crits video, so we put some questions out. We got some questions back from the fans. We've gone ahead and I've compiled those questions and put them into form of a video here with some answers for y'all. So definitely hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching and thanks for being a fan. So Crits Happen actually started right here in Georgetown, Texas. We were originally a site called Knights of Steel, and it was all focused around the Upper Deck Entertainment World of Warcraft miniatures game. Since that game has died, and since I have a lot of passion about bringing you guys everything about the tabletop gaming industry, we've grown it to become what it is today, which is reviews and playthroughs of all of the cool and awesome tabletop games that you guys can play. In terms of where we came from, in terms of where we started, all started right here. It's all still here, actually. We're just growing, and it's all because of you guys, so thanks so much. So I'm actually going to combine this answer with a question that was asked by Games and Grub about crits, hits, and misses. So first, excellent questions. The answer really is it depends. Some games you can learn really quickly, some games you can't. But here's the rundown. The hardest thing for me is the rules. Being able to get the rules down, understand the rules well enough to make an opinion on it, and be able to get through gameplay without having to refer back to the instructions for anything other than like keywords or key terms. So the rules are definitely the hardest piece around reviewing a game, making sure you've got them down. And even when we got them down, we still make mistakes. As anyone that's seen my Descent videos, I've made several mistakes throughout the gameplay of that. So we've all been there. We've all been at that point of, oh, we forgot to do this 3 turns ago. It's just a natural part of gaming, I think. But rules are probably the hardest piece. In terms of time, I really like to get 4 to 5 gameplays under my belt before starting to make an opinion. There's been a lot of games that I've played, and my first game out, I'm just like, oh my god, this game is terrible. And then on my 3rd or 4th game, I'm like, oh my god, this game is great. I just didn't understand it, you moron. So getting at least 4 to 5 gameplays is where I start to form an opinion. Optimally, I like to get between about 7 to 10 gameplays. There's some games that I can get an opinion on really quickly because they're lighter games. There's some games that take a little bit longer because, you know, they have a little bit more rules. There's some games that take quite a lot because they have a pretty intensive rule set. So really the answer is it depends, but on average, minimum 4 to 5, optimal 7 to 10. Now in terms of crits, hits, and misses, a lot of people have asked this one, and I thought Games and Grub did a very good job of asking this. They said some reviewers have a 1 to 10 scale, some have like an A to F scale, but they have a lot of different variations, and you only have crits, hits, and misses. How do you determine the difference between them? And it's really fairly simple. A miss is a game that has bad components, bad gameplay, poor design, and more importantly, a poor experience while sitting around the table. If it's a game where you sit down with people to play and everyone is very bored of it very quickly over multiple gameplays, it's going to become a miss. A hit is something that has good components, good gameplay, good design, good connectivity between the theme and the gameplay, and something that provides a good experience for most gamers around the table. And for me, a crit is a game that provides great design, great components, a great experience around the table, and brings unique things to the game itself or to the genre or the type of game. Mage Wars is a great example of a crit. It's something that when you're done with it, you feel as though you were immersed in that universe. It has unique capabilities around like the spell book and has a multitude of different options while still being a balanced game. So I hope that gives you a little more idea about how I rate things from crits, hits, and misses. But those are great questions, guys. Thanks. So I love playing games because of the experience. I like being able to sit around a table with a bunch of people, play 7 Wonders and become a city architect, play Small World and just immerse myself in a totally fantasy world, or play D-Day dice and start storming the beach at Normandy. I love being able to just envelop myself in that world with my friends and have a great experience together achieving whatever the goals are in that game. It's a great time. I love the engagement, the social interaction, the whole 9 yards. In terms of profit, so this is not my day job. This is a second job for me. This is my passion. Because of which I'm not retiring on anything I do with this. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is me doing what I love to do, and I hope that that comes through when you see my reviews and you see my opinions on things. There are some people who I won't name who will do paid reviews. Paid reviews are something you'll never see on Crits Happen. I believe a paid review is nothing more than an advertisement. If that's what they want to do, great, that's their business. But in terms of me, I'm not going to do that. In terms of a paid preview, I'm fine with people who want to charge people to do a preview of the game, as long as it's just that. It's a preview, it's not a review of the game. Two totally different things. And I haven't gotten into that. Don't know if I will get into that or not, because right now what I'm trying to do is I try to balance the site around two things that I see in the industry. Number one is a massive amount of availability of big name, big publisher games, like from Fantasy Flight or AEG or Cryptozoic. And number two is a massive amount of ingenuity and creativity that's happening on like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and different places like that. There's a ton of options available to us as gamers. We could go broke trying to buy them all. So being able to have a review site like mine that balances itself between those will show you about a lot of the major releases and a lot of the independent releases that you can learn more about and make your decisions about. And hopefully I do it in an entertaining and enlightening way that brings you guys back and gets you seeing more. But I don't look to charge anybody for any of that stuff. The second piece of that, and some people know this and some people don't, there's a lot of reviewers that will sell their copies of games that are provided to them. Now 90% of everything you see behind me and everything you see me review is purchased out of my own pocket. Very small percentage is provided on a review copy, and some of those have been print and plays and some of those have been full production copies. I am very clear with everyone that I work with on those copies, and I'll be very clear with everyone watching this video right now. I do not promise anything other than I will play your game if I can fit it into our schedule. I will develop an opinion on it over several plays, and I will do a written and or video review of that. There is no guarantee on the level of miss, hit, or crit. There is no guarantee that I'll even be able to get it into the schedule unless we work together and I tell you, yes, we can get it into the schedule. If someone randomly sends me a game, there's no guarantee that I can get to that at all. So if you are interested in us reviewing your game, I highly suggest to reach out to us and email us or get a hold of us in some way on Facebook or Twitter. But anyone who just randomly sends a game, which hasn't happened but once yet, we're not going to guarantee we can do anything. We would love to work with everyone who is interested in giving us a copy of the game. But all of that said, I don't look at it as my prerogative that if somebody sends me a review copy, whether it's a beta, a prototype, or a full version, to turn around and sell these things on eBay. If someone gives me a copy of the game, it's in good faith that I'm going to do what I've said I'm going to do with it. I'm going to play it, I'm going to get an opinion, and I'm going to put a review out there. It's not my job to go turn around and make 40, 50 bucks selling a copy of Netrunner or a copy of Seasons or something like that online. So there are people who would do that. It's fine. It's their prerogative, right? I mean, if they're given the game, they can make that choice. For me, I am choosing to do one of three things with any game that's provided to Crits Happen for review. Number one, obvious, keep it in the personal library for our playtest group and be able to play it here. Number two, donate the copy to Child's Play. If you haven't heard of Child's Play, it's a great organization. It's a great charity started by the Penny Arcade guys to help children in need. So we will donate games to them. The third is brand new. We haven't done this yet, but it's in the queue or in the plan or whatever you want to call it. There's a local thing here. We are in Central Texas called the Austin Board Game Bash, and we plan on donating games to them as well. So anyone who is interested in giving us a copy of the game, you can know that we do treat it professionally. You can know that we're not going to profit off of it, and that's just not our style. So I hope that guy gives you a little bit better insight into all of that. Now, in terms of how long I've been a gamer, I think was the last part of this question. Bounce, 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 ping pong ball. I have been a gamer since I was about 4 years old. I've absolutely loved it ever since even my earliest days of playing board games with my family. I had hair back when I started playing games. So with as old as I am now, and I started when I was 4, I guess that means I've been playing games for roughly about 4 years. So it's been about that long. It's been great. It was reviews? You, Tim Norris. You were the... No. Actually, I didn't meet Tim until after I started Crits doing reviews and stuff. But I thought that would be kind of funny and he'd get a kick out of that. So Tim is part of the Indie 20 Game Group. If you haven't seen them, highly suggest you check them out. One of the things I really like about the reviewing community and just the board game industry as a whole, I don't feel like I'm in competition with anybody. I don't feel like I'm trying to like race to get a review out before Tom Vassell or race to get a review out before Undead Viking. I met several of the people that do reviews at Gen Con this year. Got to work with a couple of people and just everyone is a community, and I really like that. Everyone has a different perspective and a different level. I mean, there's some guys who are reviewing who are hardcore gamers. They've played millions of games, and they can give you one aspect. There's guys like me who I feel is just an average Joe, being able to provide the everyday man's opinion, and all things in between. And I love that. I think it's really cool. I personally don't want anyone to just subscribe to me. I want people to be able to get multiple viewpoints, and I think that's kind of the key to reviews, right? I mean, no one person has the answer. I don't think there's any one person that you could go to and say, well, just because this person said it's good or just because this person said it's bad, I will buy it or I won't buy it, and go on down the road. You know, a lot of times I think the multiple opinions are a really, really good thing to bring in. I think that variety is important, and you know, you look at movie reviews. There's multiple movie reviewers, and most people will usually go to see different movie reviewers' opinions before they go out and make a decision on what movie they go. It's the same thing with games and game reviewers. I think that, you know, we offer a variety, and I think that's a good thing. Now, in terms of who inspired me, I really kind of, this is gonna sound lame, but I was kind of self-inspired. I already had Crits happen. I was already working towards, you know, dedicating it to one game, and then I said when that game died, I wanted to do more with it. I wanted to make it tabletop, so I kind of self-inspired myself to push it along those lines. If there's anybody that really does inspire me in terms of in the industry and what's out there, and this isn't really a reviewer, but it's Rodney Smith. Rodney has a series called Watch It Played, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, highly suggest check it out. It's youtube.com/watchitplayed. And Rodney, A, has great equipment, much better equipment than I've got. B, has great skills, and C, is just an unbelievable educator. He does a phenomenal job laying out the rules of a game, laying out how you play the game, and then walking you through the gameplay. Has a great angle of how to work it, where he and his family will play the game, and then they'll leave a turn open for us, the viewers, to play. So I just think his style is phenomenal, his professionalism is phenomenal, and the presentation and how he interacts with the fans is really good. So if there was anyone that inspires me and kind of keeps challenging me and pushing me, I would say it's Rodney. But overall, this has just been an evolution, really, of old Crits to new Crits. So which board game brought me into the world of board gaming? Well, these are two of them right here. There is a third, but I call it the Power 3, if you may, for anyone who knows the Power 9 from Magic. But essentially, when I was younger, there were 3 games almost right in a row in terms of being introduced to them that I just absolutely loved. The first was this one, which is beat up beyond all belief. It's called Crossbows and Catapults. It was a great game designed around having a playmat like this, and you would have castle pieces that were either towers or walls, and you would build up a castle and try to protect the area. Like here, I have my sword, I would protect that. And I don't have them built together with rubber bands, but the idea was you had these catapults and these little pieces, these little chips, which are, I guess, in bags, or no, I've got one right here. So there, you had these pieces of barbarians and Vikings, and you would pull back, and it would launch it, and with a rubber band, it would go flying across the room, hit this, destroy the castles, and land, hopefully, ultimately, on the opponent's primary space. And then you had these crossbows, which, you know, that's probably going to be my first meme, isn't it? Anyway, You would use these and shoot them across, and if they landed in certain spots, you would use this. It was just a ton of fun. It was the first one that taught me about strategy and building and things like that. So this was a great game, Crossbows and Catapults. The next one was Shogun. And Shogun has been reprinted a couple of times, but this was a Milton Bradley game that you had all of these little like plastic army pieces, and they were phenomenal. They were unfortunately really small to paint, and I really wasn't into painting back then, but you had boards that made up your armies. So what you would do is you would have a board like this, and you would have a general, or a daimyo is what they called them, that would lead at the top, and then you would have all of your army members on here with different things on the board to move around representing your armies. And the whole idea was it was like a risk thing where you were trying to gain control of different provinces in Japan. You had different cards representing which ones you controlled and things like that. But there was also a blind bidding piece where you would put your money earned into different areas to improve your army, or hire assassins and ronin and ninjas and things like that. So there were different aspects each turn. This was a great like first deep strategy type game. And then the third, which I don't have a copy of, and it pains me so much that I don't, was a game called Hero Quest. I love Hero Quest. It was a phenomenal game. Think Descent 20 years ago. You had a dungeon, you had a person running the dungeon, heroes running around the dungeon. You couldn't see things of where they were until you went around a corner, so only the dungeon master knew what was coming. It was just so much fun. And it's funny, growing up I never liked Dungeons and Dragons. To this day, I kid you not, to this day, I have only played Dungeons and Dragons once, and I was kicked out of that play group. Long story for a taller beer. But anyway, I love dungeon crawling games, and Hero Quest just introduced me to that. I loved the whole aspect of putting the tiles down and building the dungeon as you went. It was just a ton of fun. So what games got me into it? Crossbows and Catapults, Shogun, and Hero Quest. Well, gaming background, you heard a little bit about what it was that got me into gaming. In terms of my more competitive gaming background, I did play Magic really heavily. I played that competitively. Not very well, but I played it competitively. I played the WoW TCG very competitively, and I played the WoW miniatures game very competitively. All three of those were great experiences in my life, and actually the WoW minis game is what helped us start Crits Happen. Or back then Knights of Steel, and now it's Crits Happen. More on that in a minute, another question. But am I ever going to get back into heavy gaming like that competitively? Probably not. I've done Ascension game nights at our friendly local game shop here in town, which has been a lot of fun, but more so running them than playing them. And I've been involved with some Mage Wars stuff. I'd love to play that competitively. In fact, if there is a game that's going to get me back into competitive play, it's probably going to be Mage Wars. But for right now, I'm just really enjoying the family aspect personally of my kids getting older and playing games with them, and my play group getting more rounded and playing more than just one type of game. So I'm very happy doing the personal gaming stuff with maybe a slight hook with Mage Wars to get me back into competitive play. I did laugh a little bit when I read this. It is kind of a play on that. So I'll answer this in the terms of how did we get the name Crits Happen? Well, at the time, like I had said, we were dedicated to the World of Warcraft miniature game, and that's all we were doing. A big part of that game was rolling a crit, and on a D10 it would be a 0 or a 10. And in this game it had a skeleton head on it. So that was a very big part of the game, and I had a very good friend of mine playing the game competitively with me, who was helping me with the site, come up with warbands, come up with different ideas for blogs and things like that. And we would go to competitive things together, and he, literally, I'm not kidding you, one day he rolled 35 dice without one single 0 or 110. And he got so frustrated, he was like, man, this is ridiculous. I'm never going to get a crit, I'm never going to get a crit. And then literally in the middle of the tournament, I hear him go, finally, crits happen! And it was kind of boring, that was it. We started joking about it, and he said, yeah, he goes, man, it's finally working. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny because it sounds like happens, and he goes, yeah, it does. And he said, maybe we should change the name. And I was like, yeah, it's a good idea. And then we started talking, and next thing you know, we were known as Crits Happen. Because they do. Sometimes you roll and crits happen, and sometimes you roll and they don't. Which I thought was a good segue into the whole shift to tabletop reviews, and being able to bring in crits, hits, and misses. Because when you're rolling dice, that's really what you're usually rolling dice for in games like that. So we talked a little bit in another question about the rating system for crits, hits, and misses. But no, we never thought about like this game is bull crit or the crit hits the fan. Those are really funny. I might have to maybe put those on a t-shirt or a bumper sticker because I like them. But no, I haven't thought about anything else, although it is pretty creative. So thank you. We're going to answer this question as best as we can. It's really fun to bring your kids into board gaming. Ninja Zach is really good at building, really good at details.
Really good at plans.
Really good at planning, that's right, strategy. You're very good at that. And so I think as a parent, it's really good to know their strengths and bring games to them and introduce games to them that are going to build on those strengths. We did a lot of stuff with Lego games. We started there. We did a lot of stuff with like Catan Jr. and Redakai. That was like your first collectible card game was Redakai. You love Redakai, right?
Yeah,
yep.
Until it got lost.
Until I stopped making it. But then you like Kaijudo. You like, what was the next big game? What was the dungeon game that we went into?
Dungeon Run.
Dungeon Run. We liked Dungeon Run. And then what was the other dungeon game that we went to that you put together?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. We played Dungeons and Dragons. We have 3 of them, all 3 of them.
The castle one, the cave one, and the underground cave.
The underground cave, right. So we have the what is it, Castle Ravenloft. We have Wrath of Ashardalon and The Legend of Drizzt, right? And we like those a lot. Those are a lot of fun. Yeah. And then the most recent dungeon game. What's the most recent dungeon game that begins with a D?
Descent.
Descent. You like Descent? Yes. This little guy comes up with some really good ideas in Descent, and I think he's almost ready to be an overlord. You come up with some really good ideas in that game. But building on their strengths is a really good way to slowly progress into harder and harder games. We just played Lords of Waterdeep, and you did really good with that game.
Yeah, really good.
You almost beat Mommy at that game.
Yeah.
You came within 5 points of winning that whole game, and that was your first time ever playing a worker placement game. You did really good, right? Yeah. So being able to slowly introduce them and build them up is a great thing. I think also it's really important to be patient. You got to remember that they're not going to play at the expert level or your level, and just being patient with them, letting them learn the way that's best for them to learn, and letting them come up with ideas. And even if they're ideas that they're going to make mistakes on, I think it's good to let them make those mistakes and learn from them. You very rarely make mistakes, though. You're really good at like picking out this is what we need to do. So you've done a really good job at that. But even when we have made some mistakes, we learn from our mistakes, right? Yeah. So I think overall, gaming with your kids is a great experience. If you have the opportunity to do it, I highly suggest it. It's a total blast. We've had a total blast with it, and we're going to continue to have a total blast no matter what age you are, right? Yeah. So this is a great question. Yes, I do realize how far they reach, and it's flippin' cool. It's really flippin' cool. I started this and I was able to look at like Google Analytics and stuff, and then as I got better and switched sites and different things like that, between looking at the analytics on YouTube and the analytics on my own personal site at critshappen.com, we have seen interaction with Spain, France, Singapore, Russia, Australia, Brazil, and it's awesome. There's actually a fan, and they'll know who they are when I mention this, but I won't mention their name. We've been communicating back and forth from Japan, and they don't speak my language very well, and I don't speak their language very well, but thanks to Google Translate, we're able to actually communicate back and forth with each other, which is really cool. It's really neat to me to see that. I'm a big believer that board gaming is universal, and just fun is universal. And it doesn't matter if you get a guy from Spain, from the Netherlands, from the US, or from Australia all on a table. If you get a good game and you get good people around a table, good things happen. So yes, I am pretty well aware of how far it reaches. I think it's awesome, and I hope that we can continue to reach even more and more people. So part of that goes as a big thanks to you guys for interacting with us, sharing, liking, retweeting, the whole 9 yards. That helps propagate all of our messages out there, gets the reviews and the information out there, and just has more people interacting, which I think is great. Social experiences are awesome, and they just translate even better into the tabletop games when you play with your friends. So I thank you all for being fans, and really do appreciate it. So is there a theme that I haven't seen? Yes. Like I haven't seen a theme of a game where the whole goal is to get little Sally on the cheerleading squad. Or I haven't seen a theme of you're in clown college and you're trying to graduate clown college. Things like that haven't been done. I think a better way to answer this question might be around a theme I've seen that I don't think has been done justice. And hands down, that is steampunk. There's a lot of really good games around a piece of steampunk. There's great airship battle games. There's great games like Mars Needs Mechanics that have that light steampunk theme to it. But I haven't really seen a game that I look at and go, man, that hits every mark for steampunk I would ever want it to hit. If I could have Utopia, like just rainbows, unicorns, pots of gold for everybody, if I could have Utopia, I would love to see a game built around a video game that's older called Arcanum. I think the full title was Arcanum of Clockworks and Magica or something like that. Great, phenomenal video game that I thought really pulled every aspect of steampunk together. But never have I seen a board game that's really done justice to steampunk. I've personally tried. I've actually tried to make steampunk games. I'm just really good at coming up with the design and gameplays and stuff like that. I've never been able to make it that last mile, but that's another question, taller story or a longer story for a taller beer, as I've heard people say. But steampunk would be one I wish would have a little bit more to it. Okay, now we've done some of the serious ones, I'm going to go through a bunch of the fun ones. So Casey wants to know, do you ever dust off and play with the old WoW minis? Yes, a lot. I don't have to dust them off. I actually have a shelf above my computer with all the epics on there. I love that game, I will continue to love that game, and I will continue to pray that somebody brings it back. In fact, if I ever win the lottery, I may just do that. Samuel asked, how do you pull casual bald off? I've tried and that ain't easy. It's not. It's definitely not. But I don't have a choice. I have tried. It's not coming back. So if you think I pull it off pretty well, thank you very much. I'll do my best to continue doing that. Tim Norris asked a follow-on question. Are you a natural blonde? I don't know why you want to know that. I was blonde until I was about 3, and now I'm bald at the ripe old age of... Billy wants to know, just where are you hiding the Onyxia Mini? I promise I won't tell exactly. And exactly how many Facebook likes will it take for Crits Happen to get a company jet? We need a lot more likes to get a company jet. A lot more. And the Onyxia Mini, it's under the table. Dustin wants to know, what do you use on your scalp to achieve that epic sheen? I just shave every 2 or 3 days, and God made me that cool. And then finally, Larry Fettinger from the Indie 20 group has asked, what is your bra size? And if you die, will your wife move to Indiana to play Evil Baby Orphanage with me? I love you, Larry. I'm a proud A-cup, and hell no. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Until we see you next time, keep rolling those dice, and we hope they're all crits.